Restaurant awards are big for the restaurant industry. There's no denying this. They bring awareness while helping diners learn who is doing what at the highest level. In Vancouver, there are 3 main awards restaurants look to in this regard. Locally, there's the Vancouver Magazine Awards. Nationally, there's Canada's Top 100. And lastly, there's the globally recognized Michelin with their coveted star system. So, with all that in mind, do restaurants have more to gain or to lose when being ranked? In this video, I'm going to explore that narrative, as it's something that's perplexed me for quite a long time. I find it fascinating that a published on Main can be the best restaurant in Canada, and then the next year they're number 4. In a lot of ways, I actually don't think a lot changed in that year, but a lot of our perceptions. And so for me, I always wanted to know what it means and how it affects a team when they're under that microscope of going from maybe number 1 to number 4, or from 4 to number 10. And restaurants like Tanto continuously put out amazing work. And I think if they're number 10 one year and number 4 the other year, it's probably not that much has changed. And so I wanted to understand from a restaurateur's point of view, if they like it. Is it fun to be under this microscope? Do you like winning awards? Would you rather not have them? And so in this series, we're going to explore that in talking to some restaurateurs who are new on the circuit and some who've been a part of it for quite a while. And at the end of the day, do they have a lot more to gain or to lose in this whole process? Let's get to it. Now, this idea of loss and gain was first brought forth by famed behavioral psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky way back in 1979, when they developed a successful behavioral model called prospect theory, where they used the principles of loss aversion to explain how people assess uncertainty. Essentially, the concept of loss aversion is encapsulated with the phrase, "Losses loom larger than gains." Think of it as you getting all A's in school, save for 1 C. The A's do feel great, but that C stings much more so. Now, there are several ways one could look at this. Kahneman and Tversky present the concept with the principle of framing. By winning again and again, restaurants like St. Lawrence or Tanto can say they've gained wide appeal among the city's dining collective, and that they've deserved the recognition of another year's hard work. This is good. However, if either were to be demoted and say lose their Michelin star, the framing of such a decision can only be pushed in one way, that they are no longer as good as they once were. In this scenario, they have much to lose, and as such, how they personally frame this narrative will dictate how much loss aversion they will incur. Furthermore, this idea of wins and losses causes me to wonder, is it even in a restaurant's best interest to be ranked at all? If polled, I'd assume most would say yes. Here's Bailey Hayward of Gary's talking about what it's meant to her and her team after they won their Michelin Bib Gourmand and their En Route nomination.
That said, they're obviously amazing for us, for our team, for our business. But with that, we do take it with a grain of salt, in the sense that there's a lot of restaurants that are really incredible that don't wind up on these lists. But of course, for Gary's, we are very grateful. This has been a very positive experience for us, getting those accolades.
Hearing Bailey talk about the experience for them this past year, winning awards and getting nominated for certain things, is pretty lovely. That team is amazing, and the food they're putting out right now is quite special. And I wish them all the success moving forward. But awards, I don't know, in my eye, I don't know if they need to be necessary. And I feel like if you don't win one, it shouldn't really matter. It seems unfortunate to think that you have to be a part of this circuit to garner any type of success. And the amount of pressure that comes with that. I mean, the Vancouver Magazine Awards just happened, and Annalena had been the Restaurant of the Year for the past 2 years. And this year it went to Elisa. Does that mean Annalena is no longer as good as they once were? I doubt it. I know that team. I know the people working there, and I know they're killing it. And they're putting in just as much effort and time and energy to making sure that that experience is just as good as it was last year. So, but when people see that and they see that Elisa wins, doesn't mean they didn't deserve it. Well, what it does say is that it makes you wonder, is the food worse? Is the experience just as good? What are diners going to think about those things? And I don't know. I think that's something that we have to think about throughout this process. To counter, I'd love to offer up my own set of questions. What if nothing has changed? What if they're even better? And what if our perception of them has changed? As the principle of loss aversion goes on to elaborate, a loss can sting even more so than a gain. Winning again is great, but losing that top prize can hurt even more so. Here's published executive chef Gus Stiefenhofer Branson talking about what it would be like for him to lose his Michelin star. Pay close attention to what he says at the end.
I mean, I think it would be pretty crushing to lose a Michelin star. I think more because of, you know, the shit talking that would come with that.
So I'm not gonna lie, hearing Gus say the shit talking element did surprise me when I was doing that interview. I wasn't expecting that, that's for sure. But I'm actually kind of happy he said it, because that does give me an insight into what he was thinking, and it showcases that for him specifically, it's less to do about those internal emotions that he's dealing with, regardless of he has a star or not, which I don't think he really cares that much about, and more the external element, the stuff that he probably has less control over. And that's unfortunate, I think, because there's a certain amount of pressure that comes with being under that microscopic lens of the award circuit, and it does change the way diners view your restaurant, whether you like it or not. And I think it causes me to wonder something really interesting, is that what do restaurants or restaurateurs like himself do when they do fall? Let's say they were to lose their star. How do they cope with that? How do they deal with that? Let's take a look next.
Well, obviously, we're competitive and we want to be high on the ranking. But it's part of the process that you can never be always on top of the mountain, right? At some point, you got to go down a little bit. There's new people coming in too. The restaurant industry is always moving. You know, different young chefs are coming in, maybe opening their places, and the media also follow, the new kids on the block. So at some point, I think it's just part of the process that, if you've been high on the ranking, you're going to go down a little bit, make place for the other ones, and that's okay. That's fine. I'm fine with it.
You know, the ranking on 100 best is, you climb the mountain, and then I don't know that that's a race that you want to keep on pushing for necessarily. Again, I think what's most important to me is having a full dining room, having guests that are enjoying the experience, having our team happy to be here. That's way more important to me than a little plaque in the window.
So what I love about what Gus and JC have said here is that even though they are part of an awards ranking culture, they've tried to maintain a level head. And I admire that. And throughout that process, it showcases to me that for them, the amount of loss aversion that they are incurring is very small. Winning awards and being called one of Vancouver's best restaurants is great, but not winning, that's totally fine too. It really shouldn't matter. When I first started reporting on this story, I wanted to speak to restaurateurs who've been through the ups and downs of the award circuit. But my editor, Michelle, also encouraged me to speak to some of the new players, like Bailey Hayward from Gary's and Vish Mayakar from LM. Here are some of their thoughts.
I think awards are a nod to tell you that you're on the right path, tell you that you're doing a good job, tell you that people are loving your work, and it is a way of appreciating what you've done in the last year. But I don't think that will affect anything that I do ever. And it's easy to say that right now, but I stand by that because in the past with different restaurants, I have been given that nod and we have won some awards. But that did not change the way we did things. If we were not the best and we were the second best, that's when things changed for the good in the way of wanting to be the best again or wanting to really be the best. But in terms of day-to-day business and being able to work with the team and do business, I don't think anything needs to change or will change.
I mean, I don't think it's changed our view of it just because this is our first experience with the Michelin Guide, working with the restaurant. For us, it has been really positive. To put it in perspective, Gary's is a 36-seat restaurant. The day after the Michelin guide came out, we booked, I want to say 500 reservations in a 24-hour time period. But of course, guest expectations have shifted, so we kind of had to learn how to manage those expectations and sort of progress and move forward from that.
So at the end of the day, restaurant lists aren't going anywhere, as people will always want to argue about who's ranked where. And I get it. I'm one of those guys who loves to do that too. And the great thing about restaurant lists is they also help people and tell them where some of the best spots are. Like this one. But restaurant lists also can be a win and a headache. And what a restaurant decides to do with that is up to them. This video was shot by Elizabeth Fadden, and it was written and produced by Jamie Ma.